This is E-Commerce Uncensored. Brought to you by Fast Forward Unlimited. We're coming to you fully loaded and exposed with all the strategies and techniques for growing your e-commerce business.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode 124. I almost forgot what I was doing for a second. My name is Kevin Manell, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso
and Paul Chu.
Man, this sounds so much better.
Yeah, it does. We had a little buzz in our headphones.
We had a little buzz in our headphones. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about actually a topic that I heard on another podcast, but is really relevant to what we're going through right now with two of our clients. And that is finding your message, finding a hook for your product or products. And, you know, something that they said in this podcast that really got me thinking because it was pretty interesting because I don't think that I really even thought about this. But it's definitely something that I think is really, really true. By the way, the podcast is Perpetual Traffic. It's a pretty cool podcast. They talk a lot about paid advertising. You should check them out. But basically what they were talking about is like, you know, you have this product and you think that you only have one buyer, one type of buyer, rather than different types of buyers. Mm-hmm. And the way that they kind of explained it was like, so you have this pond, and this is not the first time that I've heard this. I've actually, this is something that's pretty common, but they talk about like having this pond of let's say yoga people who go to yoga, right? Within that pond, there are people who are really interested in like the equipment, like yoga mats and the yoga uniforms and or whatever. And then there's other people who are more into
I'm sorry. Somebody interested in the yoga mats? Like that's why they go to yoga, so they can
not go, but like I'm a golfer and I'm really into the equipment.
Into gear.
Right? You're not.
I just find that very funny.
You're so immature. So anyway,
I thought the uniforms part was what because that's what
the yoga uniform.
Yeah. I don't know what are they called.
Just workout apparel.
I think it's called. There's a term for it.
There's no uniforms though.
No, but there's a yoga pants. I don't know. Anyway, so in this pond of or this group of yoga enthusiasts, there are different types of people in that group of people, right? And you have to speak differently to each of them because they're gonna be attracted to different things. Yeah, you know, I had a conversation with Kim about this, and I explained that exact thing about the pond and all, and it makes a lot of sense. But before we get into that, let's talk about our favorite email marketing relationship building platform. That is
Klaviyo.
Yeah, Klaviyo. And by the way, I'm doing a lot of segmentation in Klaviyo these days. And for this particular client that I talked about, that we were just talking about, they have they're selling a hair product, and they have different people in their audiences have different hair types, and we're segmenting people according to what their hair types are. And it's pretty cool because we're going to start tailoring emails around, you know, different hair types. Mm-hmm. And I'm beginning to do that in Klaviyo, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's like endless, you know.
Yeah, it's really cool to see it like what it's. I mean, it's for small businesses, right? Small, large, doesn't matter really what size. But once you start seeing the data that it can put together from a big email list, from constant interaction with emails, constant transactions, it's really amazing the amount of information you can put together in Klaviyo.
Yeah, and the idea is that you tailor emails specifically for different segments of people, and that's kind of goes to the topic today, right? Like, you know, I was reading a blog somewhere, and a guy's like, you know, instead of like casting this big net of email out and hoping somebody grasps it, like, he was talking about how segmenting the list and then speaking directly to them. This is not something new, but it's just I was just reading a blog about it. It's pretty interesting, and it's true. It's like, we talk about this a lot. Like, we have a client that does like water softening, and when we run ads about water being bad in New Jersey, it works. The ads work okay, but the minute you specify like a town, people start paying attention, right? Because it's like directly affecting them because they live in that town.
Yeah, we're not talking about big groups of people either. These are just very specific people who you address exactly what they're dealing with, the problem that they're dealing with.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of segmentation, and that's really where I think Klaviyo shines. So if you're not using them, I don't know what you're waiting for, but go to ecommerceuncensored.com/email, and you'll be directed to their website. You can give it a try for free. It's $0 for the first 250 subscribers, so there's no reason for you not to try it.
They got their big conference coming up too again, which the one that we went to last year, so that's really cool. You guys can check that out and maybe go to it this year.
Yeah, ecommerceuncensored.com/email.
So within Klaviyo, how it just segments people based off their interaction with the email?
You could do it their interaction with the email. You could do it with quiz integration, so you can integrate a quiz, and depending on how they answer the quiz, we can segment them that way. We can segment them on like what emails they've actually opened or clicked through. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And getting back to the topic today, speaking directly to people, right? Like the whole water thing that we were just talking about, right? Like, if I live, let's say, in Woodland Park, New Jersey, and you say, like, don't drink the water in Woodland Park, New Jersey because there was, parasites in it, like, I'm immediately going to listen to that or pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, the idea of having multiple messages, multiple segments of people in the same sort of group of people. And it's amazing how like when we started that ad for our client, like it was like blowing up, and it was like a small amount of people the ad was going to, but it was so relevant to them. And I think you have to start thinking about your audience not as this one body of people who all like and respond to the same things, right? But you have to think of them more as like, yeah, like, okay, they all have this one common like, but there are different things that get them excited, right? There are different hot buttons that get them excited. And it's important because what you're going to say to one person, even though they're both in the same group of people, is going to be different than what you say to other people.
Well, we just had this discussion with a client this morning. He called us and he wanted to do this, last minute offer for the end of this month, and he wanted to sell a specific product. And we didn't know necessarily all the benefits of the product, so we talked to their team over there, and they gave us, 5 or 6 really key points that this product solves, or problems that this product solves. So we decided that we're going to send an email every day till the end of the month, and each email would just have a little bit of a different message, kind of the same theme and the same branding, because that's kind of like the only common denominator of this group of people is that they've engaged with the brand so far. We haven't done any segmentation necessarily, but each one of the emails will have a little different message because each person could react to different problems differently.
Yeah, and we actually... aside from the client you're talking about, we actually had a new client in here this morning, and, he asked us for like this marketing plan, and we basically said, look, I don't exactly know what your audience is going to respond to. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of ads, and we're going to allow the ads to segment the people, see what they respond to, and then we'll craft a message from that. Mm-hmm. And it's important because I think, clients have this preconceived idea about what their product does. And anytime that you challenge that, not that they like get offended or anything, but they always go back to what they feel the product is going to do. And it's really important to know that, or really important like to accept the fact that you don't really know exactly what the product is solving and what people actually are going to respond to. And you have to test, you have to try different things, different messages, and then understand that there are going to be different messages within that group of people that's going to be like different.
Yeah, I think it's more times than not when we meet with a new client, they always are like, this is who we have to go after. This is our target market. This is how we have to speak to them. And
Yeah, so many clients and people like come up with their persona before they do what we're talking about, which is research a little bit and test. And that's really what you should base a persona off of, and who your audience should be, what they're actually responding to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because we've had clients tell us that this is my audience, and then that audience doesn't buy, and we put the ads in front of another audience, and then all of a sudden that audience buys like crazy. So, it's from my perspective, like, you should never go into it thinking like, let the data tell you what the deal is. Don't you try to tell the data what the deal is, right? Like, let it tell you. They use this really cool example in this podcast, this episode. They basically said, like, they had this client who was selling planners, right? And they couldn't get anybody to buy the planner. Like, they would say, like, oh, our planner does this, and the competition's planner doesn't do that, and ours has this, and it has that, and nobody was responding. And then they did some, like, market research, and they noticed, or they discovered, that moms really like these like planners because they keep track of their kids' activities. And then once basically what they did was they went through all their reviews, and that was like a common. Actually, let me back up. They sent out an email to people who've purchased it. They surveyed them. They looked at reviews, and they basically found that moms would like comment and say, this thing is really awesome. I never miss my kids, activities, all these sports things. I never and then they're like, oh man, they started targeting moms and started like talking about all the things that moms weren't going to miss because of the planner. And they started selling like thousands of them. Now, this is not something new, obviously, but it's something that I think a lot of companies, a lot of people overlook, right? Dig deep, or dive deep into like who you're going after. Doesn't mean that like you're going to get it the first time, but like think like really hard about who could use your product. If you have a company or a customer list, survey them. If not, run some Facebook ads. Let your ads survey people, right? People always forget. They're like, well, I don't have a list. Like, dude, like set up like 10 campaigns for $5 a day each, $2 a day each, and start surveying people through Facebook ads. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and your product may do a lot of things really well. Like I think you were talking about the planner earlier, and you're like, they talk about how it does this, it does that, it does this, it does that. But it may be only that one thing that this one person will respond to.
Well, and basically what they were saying is like a planner is a planner.
Right.
Like they all do the same thing. But when you start talking to the people who you're actually trying to get to buy the thing, that's when the magic sort of happens. It's funny because like I listen to these podcasts and like I rarely hear something new, like completely new, but I hear like I do like things being explained in a different way because it makes you think. Like, okay, I didn't think of it that way, but it's true. It's like, there could be multiple messages that you want to talk differently to. I mean, we call that segmenting, right? It's the same thing, but the idea is that you're trying to find specific people that may not all kind of respond to the same thing.
It allows you to simplify things too, because once you start like just spewing out all the great things that your product do, it can just, the first thing it does is
your
confuse.
Product do or does?
Does, do, whatever. what it does, it could get really confusing. Like if we took this client from this morning and ran this 5-day campaign and just listed out every single problem it solved, every little great thing it does, people would get to be like, they would read the first thing and be like, oh, that's not me. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you break it up and you segment people and you send them specific messages every time, you'll get a much
Yeah,
stronger.
and one of our clients I was talking to about, like, with the hair type, you know, I was talking to Brianna about this. Like, she's type 4, and if she gets an email and the subject line like referenced type 4 hair, she's going to be much more inclined to read that than if it said like hair problems or whatever, like something general,
yeah.
right? Like something that speaks directly to the person.
Yeah.
Is much more powerful, and people respond to that.
It's really important in social media too, because when someone is just browsing through their feed and they're looking at their friends' stuff or whatever, to give them something so general that they could just bypass easily, it's like you need to really hit them with that hook that you keep talking about in order to get some kind of reaction from them.
And the other thing is, like, you know, the better you can segment, the better and the clearer you can talk to people, the lower your conversions are going to be. The cheaper it's going to cost you to acquire customers and then send that or sell them other things through email. So, you know, you got to look at it. At first, it's going to be a little bit of an investment. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. It's like they don't want to really invest the time or the money.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, once you figure that those people out, then you can start speaking to them specifically, and then you'll watch your conversions skyrocket.
Yeah, and in both those clients that you guys are talking about, not only are you segmenting your audience and narrowing down, but you're also like enlightening them. I mean, even like you mentioned, Kevin, we didn't even know that much about that product. So not only are we learning, but you're going to educate them on what it really does. And same with the client you're talking about. They might not know what problems they even could have or that they could be solved. But by doing that, you're segmenting and you're educating people.
Yeah, and I talk about Dick's Sporting Goods a lot. I got an email from them recently that said, you know, something like, I don't know, 50% off sale, and then it had like fishing, golf, and then, I don't know, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I click golf. Obviously, they're segmenting me. Now, every email I get is around golf, right? Because they know that I'm going to click on the golf stuff. They also know that I've purchased golf stuff from them in the past. So now every email I get is like 50% off golf, 20% off golf, you know, 5 minutes left for golf. Everything is golf. But I respond to that. And that's another perfect example. Like when Dick's Sporting Goods sends me an email and it's just a general email, I'm not really that excited about it. But the minute they mention golf and like a percentage off, like I'm on it.
It helps the health of your list too. You know, if you're sending out, like, you're going to get emails about fishing and you're going to be like, forget it. Or you're going to, you know, just send it to the trash. And the internet service providers or the email providers are going to notice that stuff and they're going to stop delivering your mail altogether to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. There are all these other ancillary benefits of doing segmentation. Like your open rates will be higher, your click-through rates will be higher, your list will be cleaner. I mean, these are all things that literally are benefits of doing this. But you know what I mean? And so not only will the conversions and the sales and all those things kind of go up, this is also another, like, one of those things that you're going to do. It's just going to be a better list. It's going to be healthier, like you said. But, you know, it's really important because, you know, and look, we're learning every day too. I mean, we sometimes do things that it should be like second nature to us, and then we're like, crap, like why aren't we applying these things?
Taking our own advice.
Yeah. I mean, like this whole thing with the water company, like we know when you specifically talk to someone, they respond, but we don't always do it. We have to catch ourselves like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, it is eye-opening. I mean, even with this, we're running a quiz for this hair product, and we're starting to learn, like, everybody had, or more than 50% of the people have a certain type of hair. And we would have had no idea about that.
You mean the same type of hair?
What did I say?
You said 50% of the people have a hair type. They all have a hair type.
I said a hair type? Oh,
yeah.
they all have the same hair type.
Right, exactly.
So that gives us a lot of information to talk to them in a certain way. And we would have never known that unless we went through this process of this quiz to find out.
Yeah, and the hair type happens to be type 4, which is like I don't know how to explain it, but like a tougher,
Kinky curly.
kinky curly.
Coily? Is it coily?
Brianna,
Shout out.
what is type 4 hair? How do you describe it? Coily.
Coily.
There's a coily hair. So like, if you start sending like emails about type 1 hair, which is very straight, like it's not going to resonate with the list. Meanwhile, when you start, talking directly to them, start sending them things about type 4, the list will respond better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. I think, one thing that I guess the point of all this, because I think like, you have a product that you think there's only one buyer for, and there's literally groups of different buyers. Kevin and I both like golf. He can care less about equipment. I am a gearhead. You send him an email about golf clubs, I'd be like, well, what's the difference between this one and the ones I have?
How much does it cost?
Right. Me,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking is, not to say you're wrong by any means, but you like the gear because you want the top of the line thing. So even though you might still be a customer for a golf club, it's just that reaching Kevin's a much different way than reaching you. It's price and being like, don't you want to do this with your family? Where you're just like,
I just like
I just want
having
the coolest shit.
Yeah, the cool shit.
Right.
I also I think that like it's gonna help me a little bit, and then I go play, and I'm like, this fucking thing didn't help me. I still stink.
you fall for it, huh?
Yeah. So, but I like to know that I have the best equipment. You know, Kevin is not like, you're just like a much different person, and you're gonna respond differently to emails. Like I am like a stickler on like
I'd be more interested in finding like some kind of cool new like golf bag cooler to hold my beers.
Ooh.
yeah, and that's and you're right. And me, I would ignore that
Yeah.
because I don't drink on the golf course. So
Or something new gadgets. I like little gadgets. Like the clubs, I'll just use whatever clubs I can get. I got nice clubs now, which I like, but I'm not going to get another set of clubs for many, many years. But little cool gadgets I really like.
yeah, like I gave him a driver from like 10 years ago. I'm like, hey, I gave him one from 10 years ago, and then I gave him one from like 6 years ago. I said, try this one. He goes, well, what's the difference? I'm like, I don't know. It's 4 years newer.
I have them both in my bag, and
Right.
every time we go play, I'm like, which one am I supposed to use?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, but it's a perfect example of how we both like golf and how we both will respond differently. You show me a beer in an email for golf, I'm going to ignore it. You show him a beer, he's going to jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes so much sense when you think about it. Craft your message, craft your emails. Guess we weren't done walking around. You can do what you do. Craft your emails, craft your message,
Craft your beer.
craft your beer. Yes. And differently for the different groups of people on your list, the people you're going after. And I think you'll find that you'll be a lot more profitable.
Cool. All right, guys. Make sure you check out Klaviyo.
ecommerceuncensored.com/email. We also have a Facebook group, ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook. And
That's it. And
Check out our videos.
Check out our videos.
Albert's got some new tripods he's really happy for.
Yeah,
and
got it.
happy about. We got a new director's chair
A
coming from
director's
any
chair.
day now.
Our new
So
office
excited
opened
about
up,
it,
and
yeah.
we got a lot going on here.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Can't wait till I have to like research couches with you for like 7 weeks.
Oh man.
No,
Wait, what about this one? Do you guys like this one? What do you think about this
He's
color?
gonna check the shipping on it every day.
No, I'm gonna
It's
buy
late. It's
it.
gonna be early.
And I'm gonna buy it. You'll be like, oh man, that's a lot of money. We should, I don't know. Kevin, it was like
We'll see.
$200.
TVs. Wait till you see what TVs turns out to be. It's gonna be a mess.
No, I mean we gotta agree on a budget, and I'm gonna buy one. $1,000. That's our budget.
That's
for
way
TV.
too much for a TV.
It's not.
That's not. All right, we'll talk about this next.
Our listeners
episode.
should write in about that. What's your budget for how big?
75 inch.
75 inches.
That's the biggest you can get. Almost. They're expensive. I mean, $1,000 is not even expensive.
I don't think that's more expensive than they are at Costco. I think they're like $800 for
Okay.
75
Okay,
inches.
so let's drive around the world for $200.
What do you mean? There's a Costco right down the street. What are you talking about? Okay,
All right.
there we go. I forgot we were on the air.
Right.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been episode 124. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.
Bye.